this will ultimately be a test of the EU and its institutions and how it fares in a kind of post-Brexit world. And it comes out looking really bad.
Well, speaking of Brexit, the European Union threatening an export ban on nations that don't honor their commitments. Well, one nation in particular is singled out.
In our contract with AstraZeneca, there are even 2 sites in the UK that are put in the contract for potential deliveries for the European Union. We're still waiting for doses to come from the UK. So this is an invitation to show us that there are also doses from the UK coming to the European Union so that we have reciprocity.
Yeah, because you have vaccines made in Britain for the continent, vaccines made on the continent for Britain, both sides accusing the other of breaking its commitments.
We expect those assurances and legal contracted supply to be respected. Frankly, I'm surprised we're having this conversation. It is normally what the UK and the EU team up with to object when other countries with less democratic regimes than our own engage in that kind of brinkmanship.
Patrick Smith, does the EU have a point? After all, there is this accusation that the British are not releasing vaccine that is due to go to the continent.
Yeah, I think it's one of the many examples of post-Brexit diplomacy, or maybe lack of diplomacy on the part of Boris Johnson's government in London. At every single turn, when it comes to dealing with Europe, whether it's trade issues, health issues, even defense and security issues, there's a level of point scoring, as if to seize every opportunity to say, right, Brexit is working to in Britain's favour as a nation, and it just proves that we're so much better out of the European Union. Most of those claims, given the economic chaos and the shortage of some goods in Britain, and the prospect for the bibliophiles and the xenophiles among the Brits, that there'll be a shortage of wine, good French wine in the country, or it'll certainly be a lot more expensive, that looms large. The one thing the Johnson government can claim has been a great success on their terms has been the vaccination campaign. It's going, obviously, as we said, much faster in Britain than in Europe. The question is now why and what are the costs of that? And I think the EU is frustrated with this British attitude, and so they're retaliating in kind. I would just like to say, just on a more general note, that the opacity over price, supplies, distribution, production and supply lines to do with the global production of vaccines is really an appalling commentary on the state of multilateral systems and multilateral cooperation at the moment. It's fine. You said, there's a tale of two continents, the Anglo-American world and the European Union are in separate areas. What about the rest of the world? What about South Asia? What about Africa? What about Latin America? There are plenty of urgent cases of health workers, frontline health workers, people over the age of 60 in those countries who have little chance of seeing vaccines this year at all. Meanwhile, we're quarreling with pretty negative consequences in Europe about this. It's a fairly disgraceful commentary on the state of international relations at the moment.
Yeah, in your native South Africa, Vivienne, Walt, they must be rolling their eyes when they see us talking in this way because of the fact that they've been leveling this request or this demand before the World Trade Organization alongside India. Make the patent open. The whole world needs to get vaccinated.
That is true. Although if you do speak to people, for example, the experts at UNICEF who are heavily involved in this issue about vaccine patents, it's not just about the patents. It's about the entire infrastructure of producing things at, on a scale of billions of doses. But it's exactly what Patrick says. We're at a moment in time where the world's institutions are being tested. this is a kind of testing moment, and we're going to be paying the consequences of this for many years.
So, Noor Ibrahim, the U.S. is sitting on quite a sizable chunk of that AstraZeneca vaccine right now. So far, Joe Biden has rebuffed EU requests to get some of it their way. But we have heard this Thursday that the Biden administration is contemplating giving it to Mexico and Canada. Your thoughts?
I think that it's insane that we have millions and millions and millions of AstraZeneca doses just stashed away that might expire that we don't even need. We're on track to meet the May 1st deadline, and the U.S. hasn't approved AstraZeneca yet. So I think it's quite disgraceful as well that we haven't done more to share the doses, especially to the countries that need it most.
When we talked in part one of our discussion, it was about how the U.S. projects itself as the world's predominant global superpower. Listening to Vivienne, Noor, what should Joe Biden be doing when it comes to the global strategy for getting the whole planet vaccinated?
I mean, I think he's off to a decent start with the, sizable contribution to COVAX. I think that currently the main issue that I'm having is with this insane stock of AstraZeneca vaccines that we're just sitting on and not sharing. So hopefully that offer extends beyond just to Mexico and Canada. I think that, again, pandemics travel, and it'll just end up helping everyone to follow through on that and share in the vaccines.
Yeah, pandemics do travel, and this one is more virulent than most when we're talking about the new variants that are coming on. And that partly explains why here in France, the Paris area and surrounding regions locking down. There was this Friday a rush on train stations ahead of a 4-week lockdown. Those better off, able to plot their escape to perhaps country homes. The government trying its darndest to avoid the kind of hard blanket national lockdown that we saw 1 year ago.
It will be possible to leave the house to go for a walk or do sport in the day without a time limit, but with a certificate required and under the condition that you stay within a 10-kilometre radius. It will be prohibited for residents of the affected areas to travel between regions except for emergency or work reasons.
So while we were listening to Jean Castex, Catherine Field was shaking her head. Catherine, give the guy a little bit of a break. I mean,
why? Tell me why. I'm going to spend the next
because
4
it's an
weeks.
Unforeseen pandemic, and
It was unforeseen a year ago. As Viv said, they've had a year to get this organised with the vaccines. I mean, it was just so many mixed messages, though, wasn't it? You can go out to do some sport, but it can be any sport, but not for a barbecue. But you can go far, but not more than 10 kilometres. But you have to be home by 7 o'clock. And you almost needed one of those flow charts to say, OK, I want to go to the shop. Yeah, that's OK, but which shop? You can go to the hairdresser and you can go to the bookshop, but you can't go to the dry cleaner. And it was just none of it was joined up thinking.
All right, Kathleen, on the hashtag World This Week, what's the big deal? Even the hairdressers are open during this confinement. She puts that in quotation marks.
And record stores. When was the last time anyone here went to... books, yes, absolutely. Bookshops should be open. But record stores? When was the last time anyone went out and bought
She goes on to say, if France steps up the vaccinations during this period, maybe we'll have a summer.
Yeah. Maybe. And then we'll all have to get into the discussion, which, of course, Ursula von der Leyen got into this week. Are we going to have the vaccine certificates, vaccine passports, so as we can go and travel on trains only with other people who've been vaccinated?